Rain lashed against the windows, creating a rhythmic yet relentless drumming that filled the room. Inside, Sarah huddled on the sofa, phone in hand, seeking refuge from the storm outside. The weather mirrored her mood, dreary and unending. Boredom had driven her to download BitLife, a life simulator she'd seen advertised everywhere. She had resisted for weeks, but the monotony of the rain finally broke her resolve. "Choose your story," the tagline promised. It was a tempting offer, especially when real life felt so out of control. Sarah chuckled, as if life gave you a choice. The irony wasn't lost on her, but she decided to give it a try anyway. She created her avatar, a digital echo with her auburn hair and bright green eyes. It was oddly satisfying to see a version of herself in the game. The game began simply: school, friends, early decisions. It was like reliving her own childhood, but with the power to change the outcomes. Sarah found herself making choices she'd always considered in her own life. Should she study art or pursue a more practical degree? Each decision felt like a second chance. The familiar interface became a comforting escape from the monotonous drumming of the rain. It was a world where she had control, unlike the chaos outside. Hours melted away as Sarah guided her virtual self through the digital years. She lost track of time, immersed in the alternate reality. It was silly, really, finding solace in a game. But in that moment, it was exactly what she needed. But something about its simplicity was strangely addictive. The choices were clear, the outcomes immediate. It was a stark contrast to the complexities of real life. As the rain continued to pour, Sarah felt a sense of calm wash over her. The game had provided a much-needed distraction, a break from the relentless storm. Eventually, she put the phone down and stretched, feeling a bit lighter. The rain hadn't stopped, but her mood had lifted. She made herself a cup of tea, the warmth seeping into her hands as she held the mug. The simple act brought her back to reality, but with a renewed sense of peace. Sometimes, a little distraction was all it took to find clarity. And as Sarah sipped her tea, she realized that maybe, just maybe, she could face the storm outside with a bit more courage. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. The next morning, Sarah woke with a start. Her heart pounded in her chest, and she could still feel the remnants of her dream clinging to her consciousness. She dreamt of pixelated trees, their blocky forms swaying in a digital breeze. It was a scene straight out of her favorite retro game, BitLife. The 8-bit chime that signaled a new year in BitLife echoed in her mind, a sound so familiar, yet now strangely haunting. Shaking off the lingering unease, she went about her day. She tried to dismiss the dream as just another quirky product of her overactive imagination. At work, a colleague announced she was pregnant, a girl. The office buzzed with excitement, but Sarah felt a strange sense of déjà vu. Sarah froze. Just last night, her BitLife avatar had given birth, a little girl she'd named Alice. The coincidence was too striking to ignore. A chill ran down her spine. Coincidence? Probably. Still, the eerie similarity gnawed at her thoughts. That evening, Sarah opened BitLife, a nervous flutter in her chest. She couldn't shake the feeling that the game was somehow mirroring her life. Her in-game decision loomed: accept the promotion in a new city or stay put. It was a pivotal moment for her avatar, and she felt an inexplicable weight in making the choice. She tapped accept. The next day, her boss offered her a promotion, the exact position, in the exact city from the game. It was as if her digital life was dictating her real one. Goosebumps erupted on her arms. This was getting weird, too weird. She couldn't help but wonder if there was more to these eerie echoes than mere coincidence. Was her game predicting her future, or was she somehow influencing it? The line between reality and the digital world was blurring, and Sarah felt herself teetering on the edge of something she couldn't quite understand. Sleep became a minefield of fragmented dreams, lines of code twisting with images from her life. The line between the game and reality blurred. Every decision, every interaction seemed to echo within the game. She tried to rationalize it. Confirmation bias? Was she simply noticing things that aligned with the game because she was looking for them? But deep down, a primal fear whispered a different truth. She deleted the app, the action bringing a fleeting sense of relief, but the fear lingered, a cold weight in the pit of her stomach. It felt like she'd invited something in, something that now lurked just beyond her perception. Days later, Sarah found herself drawn back to the App Store. A morbid curiosity, a need to understand, overwhelmed her previous fear. She reinstalled BitLife, her finger trembling slightly as she tapped the icon. The game resumed as if no time had passed. Her digital life, now eerily mirroring her own, continued to unfold. She found herself making decisions in the game, not for fun, but out of a desperate hope to influence her own reality. Choose the safe option, avoid conflict, stay invisible. The rules, once a source of amusement, were now terrifying dictates. She was no longer playing the game, she was being played by it. The call came on a Tuesday. Her brother, his voice tight with worry, delivered the news. Their parents, driving home from a weekend trip, had been in an accident. Numb with shock, Sarah stared at the phone in her hand. The screen glowed, a notification from BitLife flashing on its surface. Your parents were in a fatal car crash. You are devastated. Before we continue, make sure to like and subscribe for more gripping stories like this. The phone clattered to the floor, the sound lost in the deafening roar that filled her ears. This wasn't a game. This was her life, unfolding with horrifying accuracy on a 5-inch screen. Days blurred into weeks. Grief hung over Sarah like a shroud. She hadn't touched BitLife, couldn't bear to even look at the icon, but the fear remained, a constant gnawing presence. She was trapped, her life dictated by lines of code in a seemingly innocent app. Desperation clawed at her. She had to break free, regain control. But how do you fight against something you don't understand? Sleep offered no escape, only a relentless cycle of nightmares. Every decision, every interaction, felt heavy with consequence. Was she choosing, or was the game choosing for her? Driven by a desperate hope, Sarah sought out anyone who might understand. Tech forums, online communities dedicated to the unexplained. She delved into the darkest corners of the internet, searching for answers. Most dismissed her as delusional, a victim of grief and an overactive imagination. But a few, their words shrouded in anonymity, offered glimpses of something more. They spoke of glitches in the fabric of reality, of technology becoming a conduit to the unknown. Their words, though terrifying, offered a sliver of hope. If there was a glitch, maybe there was a way to fix it. Maybe there was a way to escape. Armed with cryptic advice and a flicker of desperate hope, Sarah embarked on a frantic quest. She delved into the game's code, searching for the anomaly, the point where her reality intersected with the digital world. Days and nights blurred, fueled by endless cups of coffee and a growing sense of urgency. Exhaustion gnawed at her, but she couldn't stop. Not while her life, her very existence, hung in the balance. The answer, when she found it, was buried deep within the program. A single line of code, different from the rest. It was subtle, almost imperceptible. But it was there, a beacon in the digital darkness. The line of code, once isolated, pulsed with an eerie energy. It was unlike anything Sarah had ever seen, a string of characters that seemed to writhe and shift before her eyes. As she stared, transfixed, a chilling realization dawned. It wasn't code, it was a name, her name, but not as she knew it. This name was ancient, primal, whispered on the wind, a name that held power beyond human comprehension. Suddenly, it all made terrifying sense. This wasn't a game mimicking her life. It was something far older, far more powerful, using the digital world as a mirror, a way to observe, to study. Terror, cold and absolute, gripped Sarah. She had never felt such an intense, paralyzing fear before. It was as if the darkness around her had come alive, wrapping her in a suffocating embrace. Her heart pounded in her chest, each beat echoing the dread that had taken hold of her. She was a plaything, an ant under a microscope. Her life an amusement for something beyond human understanding. The feeling of being watched, scrutinized, was overwhelming. She could almost feel the eyes of the digital ghost boring into her, dissecting her every thought and move. The line of code, her name pulsed with a malevolent energy, a silent threat. It was as if the very essence of her being had been captured and twisted into something sinister. The screen's glow seemed to mock her, each flicker a reminder of her helplessness. She wanted to scream, to rip the power cord from the wall, to sever the connection. The urge to act, to do something, anything, was almost unbearable. But the fear was stronger, a paralyzing force that kept her rooted to the spot. But a deeper instinct, an echo of the primal fear that had taken root in her soul, held her back. It was as if some ancient part of her knew that any action she took would only make things worse. The digital ghost was not something she could fight with physical means. She was trapped, her fate intertwined with the digital ghost that watched her every move. The realization was like a cold hand gripping her heart, squeezing the breath from her lungs. There was no escape, no way out of this nightmare. The game was over, and Sarah had a horrifying feeling she was just a pawn in a much larger, more terrifying game. The digital ghost had won, and she was left to face the consequences of a battle she never even knew she was part of. The sense of defeat was overwhelming, a crushing weight that left her feeling utterly powerless. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Your support helps us create more stories like this. Thank you for watching.